Desire doesn't disappear, suddenly it dies in small moments when a woman forgets her value. And a man watches her shrink from the strength she was born to carry. The truth is brutally simple. You cannot maintain the interest of someone when you keep abandoning the very qualities that made you magnetic in the first place. Attraction isn't magic. It's structure, discipline, and self-respect organized into a way of living. And whenever a woman walks away from these foundations, she unconsciously teaches a man to walk away from her. The first mistake women make is betraying their own standards for the illusion of connection. You can't lower the bar for a man and expect him to rise. Every time you tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or half-effort, you rewrite the rules of engagement. You signal that your time can be misused, your emotions can be toyed with, and your needs can be dismissed. A man doesn't lose interest because you're demanding. He loses interest because you stop demanding what aligns with your dignity. The second mistake is over-explaining instead of observing. Many women talk themselves out of their intuition. They rationalize a man's distance, excuse his lack of effort, justify his silence, and create emotional theories to replace obvious reality. But nothing kills desire faster than trying to convince a man to care. Attraction thrives on clarity, not persuasion. If you find yourself performing emotional gymnastics to keep him engaged, you've already stepped into a losing game. A man desires a woman who sees reality as it is, not as she wishes it to be. The third mistake is chasing instead of choosing. When a woman pursues a man with urgency, she flips the polarity that creates attraction. Masculine desire grows when he steps forward, not when she pulls him. The moment she starts proving her worth, she signals insecurity, and insecurity is fatal to desire. A man wants a woman who knows she is the prize, not because she says it, but because she lives like it. You cannot chase a man and expect him to cherish you. The fourth mistake is confusing emotional intensity with emotional value. Many women attach themselves to men who spark adrenaline but offer no stability. They mistake anxiety for attraction and chaos for chemistry. But real desire is calm. It is built through consistency, not volatility. When a woman normalizes emotional turbulence, she slowly erodes the foundation that makes a man feel secure, respected, and inspired. Men withdraw not because she feels deeply, but because she feels without direction or restraint. The fifth mistake is rewarding masculine absence with feminine devotion. Every time you give more when he gives less, you reinforce a dynamic that suffocates his desire. Men desire what they must earn, not what they are handed without effort. If he disappears for days and returns to warmth, affection, and access, you have removed every boundary that creates longing. Desire is sustained through earned access, not unconditional availability. The sixth mistake is using independence as a shield instead of a strength. Some women swing to the opposite extreme. They build walls so thick no man can reach them. They confuse detachment with self-worth, pushing away genuine connection because they refuse to be vulnerable. But a man cannot desire a woman he cannot feel. Strength is not the absence of softness. It is the merging of boundaries with openness. A woman who is emotionally armored becomes untouchable, not irresistible. And the seventh mistake, the most destructive, is losing herself in the relationship, abandoning her goals, her growth, her friendships, her identity. When a woman dims her own life, she expects the man to compensate with his. But no man wants to be responsible for someone's entire emotional existence. Desire requires two full lives converging, not one life collapsing into the other. A woman becomes compelling when she remains committed to her purpose, her evolution, and her independence, not as a performance, but as a way of being. In every one of these mistakes, the theme is the same. A woman kills desire the moment she sacrifices herself. Men are drawn to women who carry themselves with alignment, whose actions match their worth, whose boundaries communicate their expectations, and whose presence demands respect without ever raising her voice. You do not need to convince a man to desire you. You need to become the kind of woman who refuses to betray herself for temporary affection. If you want a man's desire to grow, then let your standards stand firm. If you want his respect, respect yourself first. And if you want his loyalty, be loyal to your own growth before you ask for his. A woman who knows her value doesn't chase, negotiate, or shrink. She becomes the kind of presence a man rises to meet. That is where real desire lives. That is where it stays. Desire dies where maturity is missing. Men are drawn to women who hold themselves with coherence, not chaos. That single line carries a truth most people avoid. Attraction is not built on beauty, convenience, or charm. It is built on the integrity of a woman's inner world. A man doesn't pull away because she isn't enough. He pulls away because she becomes emotional, disorganized, inconsistent, or overwhelmed by impulses she refuses to discipline. Coherence is not perfection, it is the steady alignment between who a woman is, what she believes, and how she acts. And when that alignment breaks, so does his desire. A mature woman moves with intention. She is not reactive to every emotion, every fear, every insecurity. She knows how to pause, observe, reflect. Her strength isn't loud, it's precise. Men feel this. They feel the difference between a woman who responds from grounded clarity and one who spirals in emotional volatility. When she has coherence, her presence becomes calm, predictable in the best way, and reassuring. When she doesn't, every interaction becomes a gamble, and no man wants to invest in chaos disguised as passion. The first way desire dies is when a woman begins to abandon her emotional responsibility. Instead of owning her triggers, she projects them. Instead of communicating boundaries, she demands mind reading. Instead of managing her fears, she unleashes them without filter. Emotional maturity is not suppressing emotion. It is directing emotion toward understanding, not destruction. When a woman cannot regulate herself, she forces the man into the role of her therapist, her parent, or her emotional safety net. And no romantic desire can survive when a man feels more responsible for stabilizing her than connecting with her. Another way desire collapses is through contradiction. A woman says she wants respect, yet she tolerates disrespect. She says she values honesty, yet she hides her needs behind passive-aggressive behavior. She says she seeks commitment, yet she invests in emotionally unavailable men. These contradictions create instability, and instability suffocates attraction. Men follow consistency, not confusion. When a woman's actions betray her words, her presence becomes harder to trust, harder to read, and harder to desire. Coherence is irresistible because it eliminates doubt. The absence of maturity also shows up in impulsive behavior. A woman who explodes when she's hurt, disappears when she's disappointed, or tests a man instead of communicating breeds emotional exhaustion. Immature reactions turn a relationship into an unpredictable battlefield. A man doesn't lose desire because she's emotional. He loses desire because she is uncontained. Strength is having emotion, not being ruled by it. When a woman can feel deeply without unraveling, she becomes magnetic. Another silent killer of desire is dependency disguised as devotion. When a woman relies entirely on a man for validation, direction, or identity, she becomes heavy. Men are drawn to women who carry their own lives, who have purpose, friendships, passion, discipline. A coherent woman does not orbit a man, she moves alongside him. Her energy is not needy, it is self-sufficient. Her confidence is not borrowed from his attention. It is rooted in her own integrity. This kind of emotional independence fuels desire because it creates polarity, two whole individuals choosing each other freely. Maturity also shows in how a woman handles disagreement. Immature conflict turns small differences into explosive cycles. Maturity, on the other hand, allows her to articulate her perspective without belittling his. She can argue without attacking, stand firm without becoming rigid, and compromise without losing herself. A woman who can face tension calmly ignites desire because she makes the relationship feel both safe and alive. Stability is not boring, it is the soil where passion grows. And perhaps the greatest sign of coherence is accountability. A mature woman acknowledges her part in problems. She does not hide behind excuses, nor does she weaponize vulnerability. Accountability creates respect, and respect fuels attraction. When a man sees a woman own her mistakes with grace, he recognizes her emotional intelligence. He sees her as someone capable of partnership, someone worth investing in, someone who elevates him rather than draining him. A chaotic woman drains, a coherent woman builds. Desire also strengthens when a woman knows how to give space without fear. Immaturity suffocates with constant reassurance demands, overcommunication, and anxiety-driven checking in. Coherence understands that space is not rejection, it is oxygen. A secure woman allows a man to breathe, to pursue, to return with clarity. And in that space, his desire grows naturally. She does not chase his attention. She holds her center until he gravitates back toward her. Finally, maturity is reflected in how a woman chooses herself. Not in a selfish, defensive way, but in a way that honors her value. She does not cling to a man who confuses her. She does not tolerate half-effort. She does not betray her standards for temporary affection. This unwavering self-respect is the core of coherence. It tells a man, I am whole with or without you, and because of that, I can love you from strength, not desperation. That is the type of presence that commands desire effortlessly. Desire doesn't die randomly. It dies where maturity is missing. A woman who embraces emotional discipline, personal responsibility, and inner alignment becomes unforgettable. Her coherence brings clarity, her strength brings stability, and her depth awakens something in a man that chaos never could. She becomes not only desired but respected, valued, and chosen with intention. The moment a woman abandons her boundaries, she trains a man to abandon his respect. This is not poetic philosophy, it's behavioral truth. Human beings respond to the standards they're given. When a woman lowers her boundaries out of fear, desire, loneliness, or the hope of being chosen, she unknowingly instructs a man on exactly how to treat her. Respect is not lost overnight. It dissolves quietly. Every time she says yes when she means no, every time she forgives without change, every time she accepts less than she deserves. Boundaries are not walls, they are definitions of value, and the moment she stops defining her value, she teaches him to devalue her. A boundary is not just a rule, it is a reflection identity. A woman who knows who she is doesn't negotiate her self-worth in the hope that someone will stay. She understands that a man's respect is calibrated by her consistency. When she abandons her boundaries, it signals insecurity, and insecurity invites imbalance. A man cannot admire what collapses under pressure. He cannot respect what doesn't respect itself. He cannot value what is willing to be undervalued. Boundaries are magnetic when they are firm, not flexible to convenience. The woman who holds them shows strength, clarity, and emotional maturity, but the woman who abandons them sends a very different message, that her desire to be loved is stronger than her desire to be honored, and nothing kills a man's respect faster than the realization that she will accept treatment beneath the standard she claims to have. Men push where there is softness. Not cruelty, but softness without structure becomes self-betrayal. The erosion of respect starts small. She makes excuses for inconsistent behavior. She tolerates mixed signals. She allows words to replace actions. She accepts apologies without accountability. Every compromise may feel compassionate in the moment, but collectively they create a pattern that tells him he can take without giving, return without effort, disappear without consequence, and still be welcomed with open arms. The moment she abandons her boundaries, she stops being a partner and becomes an option. And options are never valued the way standards are. A woman who stands by her boundaries is not difficult, she's disciplined. Discipline is the language of self-respect. It shows a man that her emotions don't override her standards, her loneliness doesn't override her logic, and her longing doesn't override her dignity. This is the type of woman a man rises for, because she demands the best from herself, and therefore the best from him. When boundaries fall, chaos enters. A woman begins to tolerate men who are half-invested, emotionally unavailable, or inconsistent. She allows herself to be pulled into cycles of anxiety, confusion, and false hope. She keeps giving chances, thinking her patience will inspire him to change. But men don't change because of leniency, they change because of consequences. Without boundaries, consequences disappear, so does effort. A boundaryless woman becomes predictable, and predictability without self-respect becomes unattractive. She answers every call. She's always available. She forgives too easily. She attaches too quickly. She accepts too little. In this dynamic, she is no longer a challenge, no longer a mystery, no longer a standard. She becomes emotional comfort without emotional value. And a man naturally withdraws from what requires nothing from him. But the woman who honors her boundaries creates a different effect. She commands respect without demanding it. She communicates with clarity instead of emotional desperation. She walks away from inconsistency, not because she wants to, but because she refuses to betray herself. This type of woman activates a man's integrity. She inspires him to step up, refine himself, and treat her with the seriousness she demonstrates. A man respects the woman who respects herself more than she fears losing him. Boundaries are not ultimatums, they are invitations to a higher standard of interaction. When a woman says, "I will not tolerate this," she is not rejecting the man, she is rejecting the behavior. The man who genuinely cares will rise. The man who doesn't will fall away. Either result is clarity, and clarity is a gift. The absence of boundaries creates emotional depletion. The presence of boundaries creates emotional power. A woman who holds her standards attracts a man who values them. A woman who loses herself in pursuit of someone else inevitably loses the very connection she hoped to preserve. Respect is born in structure, not sacrifice. Desire grows in boundaries, not in their abandonment. The truth is simple. Men learn how to treat a woman based on what she allows. Every lowered boundary teaches him that she will bend again. Every abandoned standard teaches him that her words mean less than her fear of losing him. But every upheld boundary teaches him something far more powerful, that she values herself too deeply to participate in anything that diminishes her. The woman who keeps her boundaries keeps her power, and the woman who keeps her power keeps his respect. She doesn't have to demand it, fight for it, or manipulate it. It emerges naturally, because respect is the natural response to a woman who refuses to betray herself. The moment she abandons her boundaries, she trains him to abandon his respect. But the moment she honors them, she trains him to rise. Desire dies where maturity is missing. Men are drawn to women who hold themselves with coherence, not chaos. This isn't just a clever line. It is the entire psychology of attraction condensed into one truth. A man is not mesmerized by beauty alone. He is not captivated by words, charm, or performance. What grips him, what keeps him invested, is the emotional stability, the self-respect, the inner order a woman carries within herself. When maturity is present, her presence is grounding. When it's absent, her presence becomes unpredictable, and nothing suffocates desire faster than unpredictability disguised as passion. A woman with coherence isn't perfect, she is aligned. She knows who she is, what she values, and what she will not tolerate. Her emotions are not wildfires that burn everything around her. They are signals she listens to, learns from, and responds to with intention. Men feel this immediately. They sense the difference between a woman who reacts and a woman who leads herself. Coherence is a kind of quiet strength, a steady frequency that draws a man in, because it feels like peace instead of pressure. Chaos, on the other hand, drains desire. Not because she is too much, but because she is uncontained. A chaotic woman confuses intensity for depth and volatility for passion. Her moods swing, her boundaries shift. Her decisions change based on fear, insecurity, or impulse. One day she wants closeness, the next she pushes him away. One day she demands honesty, the next she hides her own truth. A man becomes exhausted, not enchanted. Attraction cannot breathe in chaos, it suffocates there. Maturity shows in how a woman handles herself, not how she handles the man. It shows in her patience, her accountability, her self-control. It shows in her ability to listen instead of assuming, to communicate instead of exploding, to observe instead of projecting. A mature woman doesn't need drama to feel alive. She doesn't chase emotional highs. She seeks clarity, connection, consistency. And because she carries these within herself, she naturally inspires them in a man. A woman with coherence becomes a mirror. A man sees his own potential. When he is near her, his drive sharpens, his discipline activates, his integrity rises. But a woman in chaos becomes a storm. And no matter how strong a man is, he cannot build with someone who keeps burning the foundation beneath them. Respect fuels desire. But respect is born from structure, not softness. A coherent woman communicates her boundaries calmly and stands by them. She doesn't threaten to leave, only to cling tighter. She doesn't say she wants commitment while entertaining inconsistency. She doesn't speak about self-worth while accepting treatment that violates it. Her power is not loud. It is steady, unwavering, evident in the way she lives. Men desire what they respect, and they respect what is consistent. One of the most powerful traits of a mature woman is emotional regulation. She feels deeply, but she does not crumble easily. She can express vulnerability without losing her center. She can disagree without attacking. She can love without losing herself. When a man encounters this kind of emotional discipline, it awakens something primal in him. Trust. Not romantic trust, but something deeper, the trust that being close to her will not destroy him. Chaos destroys that trust. Chaos makes him afraid to say the wrong thing, afraid to be honest, afraid to challenge, afraid to relax. Desire dies the moment a man begins managing her emotions instead of connecting with her. When he has to walk on eggshells, he walks away. Maturity also shows in how a woman chooses what she invests in. A coherent woman doesn't entertain men who confuse her. She doesn't chase potential. She doesn't reward inconsistency. She understands that attention without intention is manipulation, and she removes herself from situations that diminish her. This self-filtering is attractive because it reveals a woman who values her peace more than her loneliness. A man desires a woman who has a life, not a woman who replaces her life with him. Coherence also means accountability. A mature woman doesn't blame a man for every emotional ripple. She reflects, she adjusts, she grows. She doesn't weaponize vulnerability or use emotion as leverage. She seeks solutions, not superiority. This emotional intelligence is rare, and rarity creates desire. When a woman can apologize without collapsing, a man sees her as someone he can build a future with, not someone he must constantly stabilize. Finally, Coherence expresses itself through self-respect. It's in the way she carries herself, the way she speaks, the way she walks away from situations that do not resemble her worth. When a woman respects herself deeply, a man feels it without her having to announce it. Her presence becomes dignified, magnetic, unforgettable. Desire thrives in dignity. It dissolves in desperation. Desire doesn't die because a woman is emotional. It dies because she abandons maturity for chaos, coherence for confusion, alignment for impulse. But when she operates from grounded clarity, when she knows who she is and refuses to lose herself inside anyone, she becomes the kind of woman a man cannot forget. The kind of woman he pursues with intention, respects without hesitation, and cherishes without being told how. Desire dies where maturity is missing, but it flourishes endlessly in the presence of a woman who is whole within herself.